In the 7th year of marriage to Curie, there was a new confidant of the opposite sex in her life. They talked without reserve, incredibly in sync. Every evening, Curie personally made 2 servings of dessert, leaving one for me, and taking the other for him. But she never spoke a word. Until that man asked her, "If I had met you first, would you have married me?" Curie did not answer, but she shattered the vase I had given her. Curie was jumpy today, wanting to speak several times but then swallowing her words. Finally, I spoke first. "Has something happened?" Curie slightly frowned and said carefully, "Jemison, her husband is away on business, and she's afraid to stay home alone. She wants me to stay with her. But your arm is so badly injured. I don't feel right leaving you home alone. Maybe she should find another close friend." She spoke with immense sincerity, half worry, half concern. When she spoke, I always looked at her, and her eyes were clear, pure, meeting my gaze head-on without avoidance. After a moment of silence, she asked me with slight doubt, "What's wrong?" I shook my head and said, "Nothing. You should go. But what about you staying home alone?" I replied, "I'll have my mother come and take care of me. Not long ago, I was in a minor car accident and fractured my arm." Curie was utterly terrified. When I had surgery, she constantly cried outside the operating room. Whether at the hospital or at home, she took care of me meticulously, as if she wanted to cling to me 24 hours a day. In the evening, when my arm ached and I couldn't sleep, she stayed awake too, dozing beside the bed with tears falling. Sometimes she gently rubbed her cheek against my other hand. Sometimes she used a towel to wipe the profuse sweat from my forehead. I told her to go to bed early, but she replied, "How can I sleep when you're like this? What if something happens and I don't find out in time? I'll have nightmares. You still need your arm to design houses. If something really happened, I would regret it my whole life." After saying that, she pouted and asked, "Don't you want me by your side?" During the day, even if she occasionally had to go out for work, she would wait until my mother arrived, instructing her thoroughly, telling my mother to take good care of me, repeating all the big and small things to pay attention to, which made my mother both annoyed and amused, saying, "This is your biological son. How could I treat him badly?" But today, she only hesitated for 2 seconds before nodding, saying, "Then you must take care of yourself. I'll be back as soon as possible. If anything happens, don't forget to call me immediately. Don't make me worry." She left in a hurry, only grabbing one change of clothes before rushing away. I sat still in my spot, even when she turned her head to look back. I smiled and waved at her. After the door closed tightly, I still didn't move, but my rigid back relaxed. Curie was abnormal. She was abnormal from beginning to end. But I didn't say another superfluous word, didn't ask another unnecessary question, because I knew where she was going and who she was going to meet. Initially, I didn't know the man's name. I only knew his last name started with H. And Curie called him Heisenberg. The first time I met him was a year ago. I was waiting for Curie at the newly opened coffee shop below her company. I hadn't told her, planning to call her at lunchtime, but she suddenly walked in. Reception. The man who had been listless at the counter stood up straight. Curie smiled brightly at him. He curled his lips, giving an okay sign. It was a silent rapport. I always felt that the rapport between a man and a woman is a very scary thing. It makes both mistakenly believe that they are each other's destiny, but at that time, the strange feeling only flashed through my mind. I didn't think much of it. Afterward, Curie saw me. She was very surprised. She asked me why I was here. I said I was waiting for her to have lunch together. She then asked, "Why didn't you call me?" I said, "Wasn't I afraid of disturbing your work? Why did you come down here?" She pouted, saying helplessly, "Work was a bit frustrating. I came down to take a walk and get a coffee too. Wake up. Oh, the shortbread cookies here are delicious. You should try them." She then raised her hand. "Heisenberg, give me another serving of small cookies." Facing the man's questioning gaze, she smiled and introduced, "My husband." That day, both of them were very natural. Curie introduced me naturally, and Heisenberg naturally greeted me. Even comping our bill, Curie said. The coffee here was great, she tried it once and liked it. Her company's afternoon tea was also ordered from this shop. Gradually, they got to know each other. At that time, I thought their relationship was purely between a shop owner and a customer. I didn't know that, in fact, those wonderfully delicious small cookies his shop didn't sell. I also didn't know that Heisenberg would send Curie a text message asking her, if I had met you first, would you have married me? Curie texted me at 10 p.m., saying she had just finished eating hot pot with Jemison and was getting ready to rest. She said she was very tired and wouldn't video call me today. She told me to definitely take care of myself and to call if anything happened. I replied one by one, telling her not to worry, that I was fine. I asked the coffee shop attendant, where is Heisenberg? Why don't I see him? The young girl, who didn't have much of a scheme, saw me talking like an acquaintance and smiled, saying, he went out. He left this afternoon. Today is my boss's birthday. He must have gone on a date with his girlfriend. He bought a big box of chocolate. It was very romantic. I nodded, bought coffee to go, and left. This city is huge. It's very hard to find two people. But Curie had bought me a smart watch. I slipped it into her handbag before she left. She bought it for me last year, when everyone else gave their loved ones small elastic bands. She gave me a smart watch phone. She said, that way I can know where you are anytime I want to check up on you. Will you let me check up on you? She said it adorably, but I knew that, compared to the location function, Curie was more concerned about health monitoring. I had fainted once due to high-intensity work. She was extremely frightened. She wanted to monitor my condition in real time. Of course, I was happy to accept my loved one's concern. That watch was very expensive, worth thousands of dollars. It monitored my heart rate and pulse very accurately. At the same time, the accuracy of the positioning was also very high. Just like now, she has been on the 12th floor of this hotel for 3 hours. I didn't rush over immediately in the night. My arm ached slightly. I took a painkiller, and then took a melatonin pill, lying on the soft bed, listening to white noise to help me sleep. But even so, I couldn't sleep. Just like the night more than a month ago. That was the first time I checked Curie's phone. Because she looked restless. When peeling an apple for me, she nearly cut her own hand. When pouring water for me, she spilled the cup. In a single moment, her emotions seemed to collapse, and she frantically swept everything off the table onto the floor. Even the vase I had custom made for her on our wedding anniversary. The vase she loved the most. Looking at the devastated room, I remained silent. Curie finally calmed down. Looking at the shards of the vase, regret appeared on her face. She turned her head to look at me, seemingly wanting to say something, but in the end, she said nothing, and quietly began to clean up. Later, I woke up with a start in the middle of the night. No one was beside me. The living room was dimly lit with a yellow light. Curie had drunk a few glasses of red wine. Her body slumped softly on the sofa. Her long hair hung down from the edge of the sofa, her face covered in tear stains, even soaking the pillow she was leaning on. In that moment, my heart beat slowly and heavily. I unlocked her phone with a sense of impending doom. The chat interface hadn't been exited. The person with the note of just the letter H had sent a message in the afternoon. If I had met you first, would you have married me? Curie had not replied. She hadn't replied a single word. But that night, my heart still died inside her phone. I arrived at that hotel at 6 a.m., carrying documents. I placed everything on the service counter and said, Curie is my wife. I want to know which room she booked. If you refuse, I will call the police. I was too exhausted, with no strength left to argue with anyone, physically and mentally drained. The receptionist was stunned for a long time, her eyes shifting from surprise to hesitation, then to pity. Please wait a moment. Sir, I will check immediately. She quickly gave me the room number, then asked if I needed any help. I smiled and shook my head, gathered my belongings, and went upstairs. Curie didn't make me wait long. I had only been standing outside the door for less than 40 minutes when the room door opened. Heisenberg gripped the doorknob, standing there with a disappointed expression. Behind him, a slender hand was placed on his arm, and a voice sounded, Heisenberg. Thank you, but I'm sorry, we really cannot be like this. I didn't understand what she was thanking him for, or why she was apologizing. This seemed to be a secret code between the two of them. Heisenberg's face also showed sadness, saying, Curie, I just wanted to. Suddenly, he saw me. The air seemed to freeze in that instant. Curie's hand, which was resting on Heisenberg's arm, was instantly retracted as if burned, but she did not step out from behind. Heisenberg. I spoke up and asked, not leaving yet? She called my name, Oppenheimer. Curie was pale, her voice trembling, so was I. The hand, clenched behind my back, kept shaking. I thought I was mentally prepared, that I could face this calmly, but when I actually faced it, I realized it was hard for me to even stand straight. I felt that in an instant, all my strength was gone. I weakly asked, where is the car? The underground parking lot, I said, then let's go. My bandaged arm accidentally hit the wall, hurting so much that I gasped sharply. I was about to help Curie, but she hurried to support me. I roared, don't touch me. She lowered her head, stubbornly refusing to listen. I raised my hand to push her away, but Heisenberg suddenly stepped forward, pulling Curie behind his back, and challenged, what are you going to do? I gave a cold laugh. What do you think I want to do? Hit her? He held his head high, as if he already knew the answer, standing in front of Curie, and said to me, I won't let you touch her. I nodded. Good, then you keep her. Remember to tell her to divorce me first. Curie brushed Heisenberg's hand aside and cried out, Oppenheimer. Let's go home. Heisenberg looked slightly hurt and said, I'm trying to help you. Curie stepped back. Heisenberg, you and I have no relationship whatsoever. I don't need your help. She didn't spare Heisenberg a glance, only staring intently at me, and spoke again. Oppenheimer, let's go home. When we got home, Curie said to me, Oppenheimer, I can explain. Yesterday was Heisenberg's birthday. He doesn't have any friends here and wanted me to be by his side. I was only with him to celebrate his birthday. Nothing happened between us. It was wrong for me to lie to you. And I apologize. I was just afraid you'd be angry. I was wrong. If you mind, I won't see him again. He's just a friend. Oppenheimer, please don't ignore me. Say something. I'm scared. Since returning home, Curie had said many words of explanation, apology, and self-reproach. I wanted to speak, but my throat felt choked by cotton wool, making it impossible for me to utter a single word. I didn't know where to start, nor what I could say. Finally, I only spoke to Curie, word by word. Let's get a divorce. My words made Curie freeze. She tightly gripped the corner of her dress, then closed her eyes deeply and opened them, as if she had suppressed her surging emotions. She said, nothing truly happened between him and me. We just drank wine and talked. Oppenheimer, please don't be like this. I know you're angry. It's my fault. I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone out with him, but you have to believe me. I truly didn't do anything to betray you. I said in a calm voice. What do you call betrayal? The two of you must have hugged, right? And probably kissed too. You smell of cigarette smoke. And also right here. I pointed to her lips. A bite mark. Curie trembled. Her lips taut. I looked at her with heartbreak and asked, how far does it have to go? Catching you in bed? You stayed in the same room all night. How am I supposed to believe you? Curie, how can I believe you? Curie lowered her head. She closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling slightly, and her voice choked as she said, Oppenheimer, I was wrong. I don't know why I lost my mind to the point of being so distraught. But I swear, nothing more happened between us. I beg you, look at the years of love between us. Give me a chance. Moreover, I'm pregnant. We're going to have a child. She pulled my hand and placed it on her abdomen. I froze, slowly lowering my head to look at her abdomen. After a moment of stunned silence, I quickly withdrew my hand. What did you say? I'm pregnant. When did you find out? Curie was silent. Her hand was clenched into a small bloodless fist. I gritted my teeth. At this moment, I felt like a caged beast. My voice was hoarse and trembling as I asked, "You knew and didn't tell me? You knew and still stayed with Heisenberg all night? Curie. What do you want? You don't want this baby. Do you? Because of Heisenberg. Right? You despicable woman. How dare you? How dare you do this? How dare you still use this child as a bargaining chip now? Divorce. Curie. Don't say another meaningless word to me. This year marks the 7th year Curie and I have been together. People used to say, shouldn't the two of you have a child? I would laugh. We've only been married for 3 years, but you two have been together for 7 years, have a child. It's time, but actually, we never used contraception. For a period of time, Curie was very worried about this. She didn't understand why she couldn't get pregnant. We went to the hospital for tests. The results showed that the probability of us having a child was low. My data was completely normal. The problem lay with her. To prevent Curie from being affected, whenever others asked why we didn't have children, I always said, I haven't lived enough of the two-person life yet. No one is allowed to take my Curie away. Both of us longed for a child. I once imagined that if one day we found out Curie was pregnant, we would surely be mad with joy. But she didn't tell me she was pregnant. She went for a checkup but didn't tell me. I didn't even need to think to know she must have hesitated over whether to keep this baby. Why? Because of Heisenberg's appearance. The appearance of another man made her unsure if she wanted to have a child with me. How ridiculous. How sad. Strong emotions kept hitting my nerves repeatedly. Finally, I dry heaved. I hugged the toilet bowl. Kneeling on the floor, it was a pain as if all my internal organs had shifted. Curie frantically knocked on the door. She begged me to open it, begged me to come out. She whispered outside the door, pleading with me not to harm myself. And me, I sat miserably on the floor, feeling like the most failed man in the world. I desperately wanted to end everything honorably, but as soon as Curie began to hesitate, my self-respect had already been trampled into the dirt. That night I slept in the living room, perhaps because I was too tired. I quickly fell asleep. The next morning, before I woke up, Curie had prepared a table full of breakfast, waiting for me to come out. She tried to smile, standing up. She must not have slept well. Her complexion was terrible. Her lips bloodless. If this were before, I would definitely be heartbroken. But now, my heart was like a puddle of stagnant water. Oppenheimer, eat a little, I said with an expressionless face. Curie, let's talk. She stood there for a long time, finally nodding. Where should I begin? I said to Curie. I gave you a chance. I also once fantasized that things might not have reached this point. Curie looked at me with some confusion. I gave a sarcastic laugh. That day, Heisenberg asked you if he had met you first. Would you have married him? Just because of this sentence, you collapsed, suffered, and cried frantically. That night you got drunk and passed out crying on the sofa. I checked your phone. I always thought that checking a spouse's phone is not a good behavior. When you start doing that, separation has already occurred. If there is no trust between two people, why stay together? But I, the one who thought this way, ended up doing it too. My words made Curie freeze. Her body leaned back slightly. It was an unconscious posture of wanting to escape. She clutched the corner of her dress, showing a pleading look, her voice weak and forced. But I didn't answer him. I rubbed my tired, dry eyelids. That's right, you didn't answer. But not answering is also an answer. The suffocating silence filled the air again. Curie opened her mouth several times wanting to speak. Finally she said, if you've read those things, you should understand. He and I had no prior conversation. I only saw him as a friend. The night before last was just to celebrate his birthday. We drank and got drunk. But it only stopped there. We didn't take any further steps. Oppenheimer, I truly didn't betray you. I didn't look at Curie. Just sighed. On April 3rd, we had a date to watch a movie. We hadn't been to the cinema in a long time. I bought tickets, booked a restaurant, and was looking forward to it. But you suddenly said you didn't have time because your boss insisted you work overtime. But the truth is, Heisenberg asked you out to sing karaoke. Every evening, you made 2 servings of dessert at home. 1 serving was left for me in the evening, and 1 serving was taken to him in the morning. Only February 14th was different. What you took was green tea chocolate. 13 pieces of chocolate. The specialized elevator in that large building requires an internal card. Heisenberg complained that every time he delivered, he had to wait a long time for the elevator. You told your boss that your husband needed a card, too. Make it easier to pick you up when you work late. But in reality, you gave it to him. On your birthday, after I fell asleep, you went downstairs in the early morning. Heisenberg gave you a bracelet. He asked you if he was the first person to wish you a happy birthday. You said yes. What is the rapport between the two of you? It's when he asked you, going? You immediately replied, of course. He said, a rooftop. You replied, 1. He said, feeling sleepy now. He said, coffee coming right up. The day you changed your car, you took him for a test drive. He said someone mistakenly thought you two were lovers. You sent a face covering, shy emoji. Every day on your way home from work, you called him, 27 minutes, never running out of things to talk about, excluding periods of passionate romance. How long has it been since we talked that much in a single day? The Curie talking to Heisenberg is a stranger to me. No, I shouldn't say a stranger. The Curie from college was exactly like that. Lively, talkative, even a little naive. It's just that when the person facing her isn't me, the uncomfortable feeling, like ants crawling on my skin, nearly swallows me whole. Curie's head lowered more and more. She said with a lack of confidence, I only saw him as a shoulder to cry on. When I was feeling down, sometimes I just wanted to talk to someone. We were only talking. Oppenheimer, what do you want me to do for you to believe me? Deep helplessness pulled me down. Curie, how far do you think it goes before it's called adultery? The innocence of the two of you, the rapport between the two of you, is like a knife hanging over my head. Is it adultery when this knife falls, or is it adultery when this knife is hung over my head by you? The gun was already loaded before the trigger was pulled. I had once fantasized, I love Curie. We have been together for 7 years. Every little thing she sacrificed for me. I remember. How could she betray me for someone like that? But when I turned off my phone and lay down, I knew that some things cannot be treated as if they never happened. After seeing those messages, after discovering those things, how can I still believe you? You left my sight, performing unusual actions, and I knew you went to find him. In that moment, I knew that our relationship had been buried by your own hands. When Curie agreed to be with Heisenberg to celebrate his birthday, to meet one last time in the evening, to drink one last time, she said, perhaps that way I can let go. Curie, pity me. The moment Curie replied, okay, the trigger was pulled. I lived toward death. I said again, Curie, let's get a divorce. Curie disagreed. She said she could compromise on anything except divorce. She said dessert would forever only be made for me. She would have lunch below my office. She would come home on time every day and never step into that coffee shop again. Seeing her busy, trying to please demeanor, I felt very sad. These were things that should have been unnecessary. I never liked compensation. After the fact, divorce was very difficult. It wasn't until I wanted a divorce that I realized how difficult it was. When one party doesn't agree, the only option is to file a lawsuit. It takes at least a month from filing to the court session. If it's not a major fault, the preliminary trial won't grant the divorce. Then, one can only wait another half a year to file the second lawsuit. Will the divorce be granted the second time? Probably, perhaps, too agonizing. Therefore, I decided to move out. She asked, what are you doing? Where are you going? I ignored Curie's words and continued to put clothes into my suitcase. She went crazy again, tossing my belongings, screaming frantically. What more do you want me to do? I've admitted my mistake, apologized to you, and sworn there won't be a next time. Why won't you forgive me? Is it really that unforgivable? The love we've had for so many years. Can't you give me a chance? Oppenheimer, I beg you. Can't we live well together? The shirt in my hand was crumpled. I threw it hard onto the floor. Curie, I also beg you, don't disgust me anymore. Curie was frightened, backing away continuously. Her eyes red, she held her abdomen and said through the doorframe, I won't divorce you. I'm pregnant, you can't divorce me. This was the last sentence she said to me before fainting. Signs of a miscarriage. If the symptoms worsen, a miscarriage is unavoidable. The cause is emotional fluctuation. Worrying too much. This was the doctor's diagnosis. Her parents rushed over, scolding me severely. They asked how I took care of Curie, asked if I had bullied her and made her angry. I was too tired to even open my mouth. Curie looked at me anxiously and said to them, Mom and Dad, don't say any more. Oppenheimer. I slowly lifted my head, looked at the 3 people in front of me, and said, I want to divorce Curie. What did you say? I said I want to divorce Curie. You insolent man. Her father was about to swing a punch at my face, but I firmly grabbed his arm. Curie cried out, wanting to run over to stop it, but her mother pulled her back, saying, You spoil him too much. Now you're pregnant, and he still demands a divorce. Does he have someone else outside? Curie stood still. I scoffed and said, Curie, I am determined to divorce. Afterward, the news that I wanted to divorce Curie spread everywhere. My parents didn't understand at first, until I told them the real reason. They all fell silent. Curie's parents didn't look for me anymore either. They must have also known the truth. Only Curie remained stubborn. During her hospital stay, she called me many times. I didn't answer any of them. She called my parents instead. Initially, my parents' tone wasn't good, but after, Curie showed weakness and repeatedly mentioned the baby. My parents wavered. They advised me, just let it go. Curie is pregnant after all. That's right, Curie is pregnant. Everyone thought this should be a get out of jail free card, but in reality, it was the final straw that broke the camel's back. I loved her so much, I wholeheartedly looked forward to the birth of our child. But what about her? She stabbed me with a knife. The bleeding was profuse, deep into the bone. The feeling of being betrayed by the person I loved most tormented me every single second. I hate her, and I no longer trust her. How can I live the rest of my life with her? Should I wait until the marriage is rotten to the core before leaving? Curie stayed in the hospital for 15 days. Heisenberg came to visit once, bringing a fruit basket and fresh flowers, saying he came to see her. But Curie gave him the cold shoulder for the first time. You should leave. Don't come again. Heisenberg was silent for a few seconds, then forced a smile and asked, What do you mean by that? You don't answer my calls, nor reply to my texts. Can't we even be friends anymore? Is Oppenheimer still misunderstanding something? I can go explain to him. Curie interrupted him. Heisenberg, let's not contact each other anymore. I shouldn't have been able to know these things. But Heisenberg deliberately came to talk to me. He was smoking, his face full of defeat, and he said, I thought I could win against you. You just appeared a little earlier than me. But now I lose. I withdraw. She is yours. His self-talk made me feel ridiculous. Did Curie send you? Heisenberg sneered. That was her final request to me. Of course, I had to grant her wish. Really? Deep love, deep loyalty. I called Curie. As soon as she picked up, she said, Oppenheimer, I'm about to be discharged from the hospital. You'll come pick me up, right? I said, get rid of the baby. What, the baby? Curie cried, sobbing. Do you hate me that much? Hate me so much you want to kill our child? I said, calmly, Curie, if you give birth to this baby, when it asks its parents why they divorced, how do you plan to explain? That's right, whether during Curie's pregnancy or her breastfeeding period. Even if I filed a lawsuit, I couldn't get a divorce. But these periods will pass, and I will definitely get a divorce. Curie choked up and asked, Why? I've apologized to you so much. I've humbled myself. I've cried and begged you. What more do you want? I only made one mistake. Do I deserve a death sentence? Can't you give me a chance? Oppenheimer, is your heart made of stone? This was the first time she decisively hung up the phone. Like that, She said, "The child. I won't abort, I also won't divorce." Curie was discharged from the hospital. She went home, but didn't contact me. However, her mother called me repeatedly. At first, her tone was polite, but then it turned angry, saying, "Oppenheimer, are you a man with no magnanimity?" Curie only had one friend of the opposite sex. Nothing truly happened. Why do you have to make such a fuss? It's disgraceful. Actually, I was mentally prepared for more disgraceful things. But then I heard that Curie's mother had to be hospitalized. I asked my friend what happened. He shook his head and said, "I don't know. It seems she had a fight with Curie's father. No one knows the specific reason." "How is she now?" "She woke up. She's just crying and demanding to die." I sighed in relief. "It's good that she woke up." My mother said, "Aren't you going to visit?" I was busy with my work, and without looking up, I said, "No." Once the decision to break up is made, don't do things that give the other person false hope. It's strange, people seem to be able to grow up overnight. Initially, I thought Curie's betrayal would make me so miserable I wouldn't want to live, but as the days passed, I seemed to no longer be that sad. I began to look straight at everything. My marriage was indeed a failure. I wasn't planning to visit Curie's mother, but she called me, saying she wanted to meet me once. She said, "I don't have any other intention. Oppenheimer, I just have a few things I want to tell you." Her voice was sad and hoarse, making me hesitate for a long time, but in the end, I still went. In just a few days, Curie's mother had visibly withered. And Curie too. She had lost a lot of weight, looking like she might fall over at any moment. Lost, helpless, and sorrowful, she said, "Oppenheimer, thank you for coming to see me." I nodded at her and walked into the hospital room. Curie's father was having an affair. More precisely, he found his true love and wanted a divorce. And that so-called true love was 2 years younger than Curie. He said he had never been so compatible with anyone. They ate together, fished together, traveled together, and had endless things to talk about. He said he felt he was alive again. He said he had sacrificed his whole life for this family. Why couldn't he live for himself one time in his later years? The more Curie's mother spoke, the more agitated she became. She said, "He said he only had responsibility toward me, toward this family. That I and this family tied him down. On what grounds? Is it only he who paid a price for this family, and I didn't? On what grounds does he deny our love of so many years with just a few words? He is simply being unfaithful, having an affair, and yet he wants to claim he's noble. I will not let them succeed. I won't let them succeed even if I die. Wanting to divorce me to go find his new love. No way." Curie's mother trembling gripped my hand, continuing, "Oppenheimer, you understand me, right? You understand what I've been through, right? Only you in this world know what happened to me. He is forcing me to die." Following her every word, I finally understood why she wanted to see me. And why she told me so much. It turns out that truly, the knife doesn't hurt until it's stabbed into oneself. Before, she had lightly dismissed Curie's mistake, describing it as merely the tongue touching the teeth, criticizing me for not being generous enough. But now that it was her turn, she said it was forcing her to die. Regarding this, I neither comforted nor gloated. Only after she finished speaking, I pushed her hand away. Facing her expectant gaze, I said calmly, "You should rest. I have things to do, so I'll take my leave first." When I left the hospital room, Curie was standing outside. She looked at me with deep longing, saying, "Oppenheimer, can we talk for a moment?" I asked her, "Talk about what?" "I only want to settle the divorce, not talk about it." I asked her 2 questions. First, if your father hadn't mentioned divorce, only having a confidant of the opposite sex, would you sympathize with your father or feel sorry for your mother? Second, the matter of your father having this confidant isn't a recent thing. Why did he choose this moment to propose a divorce? After saying these things, despite Curie's extreme pent-up emotions, I left. Curie's father was determined. He would rather leave empty-handed than not get a divorce. This surprised everyone. Historically, loving parents and a wealthy family background were always Curie's labels. She had never had to endure the suffering of a dysfunctional family. Her father was someone she idolized and relied on. She always said she wanted to find a husband like her father, and her mother, gentle and mild-mannered, was the person she wanted to become. After graduating, she relied on family connections to enter the company, and is now a mid-level manager. Therefore, she had never suffered much social hardship either. The only notable hardship was this time, when I wanted to divorce her. I understand Curie. She knew she was wrong, but she also felt she wasn't that wrong. She chose to admit her mistake, but also thought that admitting it was enough. What's the big deal? But her father's situation seemed to suddenly awaken her. She hadn't contacted me for many days, but she frequently appeared outside our residential area. Her car was parked there, stopping for several hours, until one day, she called me over. We sat on a roadside bench. After a long silence, Curie spoke. I thought about the question you asked me last time for a very long time. Afterward, I asked her father why he proposed divorce at this moment. He said it was because her mother's attitude made him feel that his having a confidant of the opposite sex was acceptable. He even thought she could understand his liking someone else, and wouldn't blame him, because she had done the same. If that was the case, then our proposal for divorce wouldn't be seen as an issue. When Curie said these words, her voice kept trembling. She continued, I went to see that girl, Lovelace, wanting to persuade her to break up with my father. But she said that girl said, didn't you also have a confidant of the opposite sex? You even didn't want to have a child because of him. It's just that you haven't been brave enough yet. You should learn from your father on this point. How could he do those things? It's clear he and Mom have always loved each other, even until the day before he proposed divorce. He still hugged Mom before going out. Curie covered her face with her hands. She cried for her father's betrayal of the marriage, of the family, but her tears did not evoke any pity from me. Oppenheimer, do you hate me very much? My hand, placed on the bench, tightened. The thorns piercing my fingertips stung painfully. I recalled those unpleasant experiences, and said, initially it was sadness. I was very sad when I discovered you had such a confidant beside you. Then he confessed his feelings, and you didn't answer. I fell into confusion. I didn't know what your true thoughts were. But you didn't stop. You still continued to do those things. This caused me great pain, until you agreed to meet him that night. I suddenly felt relieved. The person involved is blinded. He confessed, and you didn't answer. It wasn't that you didn't want to, but that you couldn't. That's why you collapsed, hurting and crying, even though you knew he had feelings for you. You still didn't keep your distance. That's because you couldn't bear to. You agreed to go drinking with him. You had another motive, didn't you? What stopped you? Perhaps it was your final moral limit. Curie, when I realized you liked him, I hated you to the core. Curie looked at me with great sorrow in her eyes. I, in turn, felt the suffocation in my heart dissipate a little. I said, but it is all in the past. Feelings of hatred are too intense, harming both others and oneself. It's unnecessary. Curie, if you truly feel sorry for me, then let's divorce decisively. Let's maintain some final dignity for each other. At the end of our conversation, Curie wiped her tears and said, do you have time tomorrow? Come with me for the abortion. Consider it the last time you'll be by my side. Curie and I divorced on a beautiful morning. She asked, can we be friends after the divorce? I shook my head. Let's not. We should both start over. Curie tried to smile, but ended up crying instead. I accepted the 3 words, I'm sorry, calmly, turned my back, and walked away. Without looking back. Curie's parents were still constantly arguing. I heard her father had moved out to live separately. Her mother fought and cursed every day, but couldn't change her father's resolve. Therefore, she started taking out her anger on Curie, saying it was Curie's example that influenced her father. One drama after another, even without my witnessing it firsthand. Innumerable people relayed the news to me. Initially, I still occasionally ran into Curie a few times. But then it became less and less frequent, because her mother was making too much of a scene. Both her father's career and her own job were affected to varying degrees. Some sighed, some mocked, and some watched the spectacle. Even my own mother couldn't help but exclaim, "It's a good thing you pulled yourself out of that mess in time, otherwise, even we would be affected. Tell me, what is wrong with that family?" Ultimately, I did not agree with this perspective. Later, I ran into Heisenberg once. He was in a new relationship. He apologized to me, spoke of the naive things in the past, and said that now everything was over. He looked very relieved, as if he wanted to make amends with me, which I found ridiculous. Do you genuinely want to apologize to me? You just want to seek psychological comfort. Senor Heisenberg, I have no obligation to satisfy you, because you genuinely destroyed my marriage and my family. This feeling of guilt is something you should bear. As for me, I only need to shed the hard shell and leave the burden behind. I have my work. I have my family. A failed marriage can only cause me pain for a while, but it will absolutely not cause me pain for a lifetime. The prerequisite is that I withdrew in time. Curie epilogue. The first time Curie met Heisenberg, his coffee shop had just opened. To deliver his order in time, he asked Curie if he could use the company's internal elevator. Curie agreed. Afterward, Curie asked herself if she would have agreed for anyone else. Probably not. Because Heisenberg had caught her eye, just a glance was enough to make her unforgettable. The second time they met, Heisenberg treated her to a coffee as thanks. So, Curie told her boss she wanted an extra card for her husband. And he gave her a serving of small cookies using his exclusive recipe. Just like that, Curie and Heisenberg became acquainted. She ordered the company's afternoon tea from Heisenberg's shop. She and Heisenberg exchanged contact information. That time, she went hiking and coincidentally met Heisenberg. It turned out he also liked hiking. She felt a comfort she hadn't felt in a long time. Heisenberg said, "Let's go together next time." Curie smiled, but did not agree. She felt it wasn't right to do so. But in the end, she still agreed, because they coincidentally ran into each other again at the same concert. Oppenheimer should have gone with her to that concert, but he broke their date because of work. Curie didn't say it, but she was very disappointed inside. Heisenberg's appearance compensated for her disappointment. They also shared many common interests. This rapport captivated Curie. During their conversation, she mentioned that she made desserts for Oppenheimer every day. Heisenberg was very admiring and said, "If any woman made desserts for me every day with her own hands, I would definitely love her to death." Curie's heart beat fast, and she said, "Then I'll give you some." Really? Of course. Curie thought this was harmless. It was just making an extra serving. Therefore, later on Valentine's Day, Heisenberg said, "Being a lonely dog for so long, I really can't stand this sour smell of love." Employee Xiao Li received a serving of 13 green tea chocolates today. "I'm so envious of them. Looking at it makes me want to fall in love too." Curie responded without thinking, "Do you absolutely have to be in love to receive chocolate? I'll give you some." Curie didn't think carefully. Was her impulse at that moment because she didn't want Heisenberg to fall in love? Did Curie like Heisenberg? Probably. It's just that Curie had never thought about whether this liking was related to love. But she knew Heisenberg's liking was related to love. How could she not know? Women are very sensitive in this matter. But she didn't want Heisenberg to say it out loud. She couldn't give Heisenberg what he wanted. She had a happy family, and also a husband who loved her. Heisenberg and she could only be friends. But Heisenberg finally said it anyway. This caused Curie immense pain, so painful that she didn't want to see Oppenheimer. As if Oppenheimer's existence was an obstacle. Curie did not reply to Heisenberg. Heisenberg also pretended that the question had never been asked. They continued their relationship as before. But ultimately, there were differences, such as Heisenberg's increasingly intimate actions, such as Curie's hesitation over whether to keep the baby in her womb. Curie was pregnant, half a month after Heisenberg asked that question. She should have been happy. Should have told Oppenheimer immediately, but she didn't. She sat in her car for an hour, tore up the diagnosis paper, and then went to see Heisenberg. Curie was very confused. Think again. The baby, Oppenheimer, Heisenberg, she needed to think carefully. That night, she lost control. They hugged, they kissed. Heisenberg had removed her clothes. Only the final step was missing. Curie pushed him away. She said, "No, not now." She hadn't thought carefully yet. She was married. She was pregnant. She needed a little more time. But she didn't know her time had run out, because Oppenheimer had found out. When Curie opened the door and saw Oppenheimer, her heart sank to the bottom of the abyss. Initially, Curie didn't feel the matter was that serious. Or rather, she deliberately deceived herself. She was just making a friend. A very compatible friend. She was not having an affair. She didn't do anything wrong to Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer could be angry, unhappy, and she would apologize. But it should stop there. Divorce was impossible. Since Oppenheimer found out, Curie's emotions were always tense, constantly fluctuating between guilt and frustration. When Oppenheimer was sad and heartbroken, she felt very guilty. But when Oppenheimer kept talking about divorce, she became particularly frustrated. She only made one mistake, a mistake that wasn't serious enough to be unforgivable. Why couldn't he forgive her just once? Curie didn't understand. Until her father proposed a divorce. During that time, Curie's mood was very poor. Her mother also complained. Oppenheimer is really unreasonable, not magnanimous. It wasn't a big deal to begin with, but he made it seem like the sky was falling. Life isn't a novel, it's not imagined. How can it be perfectly complete? Every family has its unsaid troubles. How many people are truly spotless? To live well, sometimes you have to turn a blind eye. This was said at the dinner table. Her father thoughtfully said, "So you think this is nothing?" Her mother didn't find it unusual, and said, casually, "Of course, what's the big deal? That's just how things are nowadays." So, her father said, "I like someone else, let's get a divorce. I will leave empty-handed." Her father and that girl, Lovelace, had been acquainted for 2 years. She could only be called a girl, after all. She was 2 years younger than Curie. Her father said he had never liked someone this much before. "This half of my life has been devoted to my family, to my career. Shouldn't I be able to live for myself once in my later years?" Listening to her father talk about the times he and that girl, Lovelace, spent together, Curie felt slapped in the face. How similar. Her father and that girl, she and Heisenberg, how similar. She felt as if she had been stripped naked, thrown into the broad daylight, unbearably ashamed, pained, and disgraced, but she couldn't run away, because her mother had fainted. Oppenheimer's 2 questions were like a heavy blow to her head. First, if your father hadn't mentioned divorce, only having a confidant of the opposite sex, would you sympathize with your father or feel sorry for your mother? Second, the matter of your father having this confidant isn't a recent thing. Why did he choose this moment to propose a divorce? Curie finally understood one saying, it turns out, the knife only hurts when it's stabbed into yourself. What truly made her decide to divorce was her mother's furious words to Curie, "You truly are your father's daughter. Exactly like him. Even the reason for cheating is equally disgusting." She recalled what Oppenheimer had said, "Can you please stop disgusting me?" Oppenheimer said, "Your father at least dared to admit it. He simply likes someone else. You don't even dare to admit it. Curie, you are not even as good as your father." Curie trembled, crying bitterly. It's not like that." But didn't she hate her father? She did. She didn't understand. She didn't even want to say another word to her father. She thought of Oppenheimer. Did he hate her that much too? Curie was terrified. From that moment on, she finally began to regret it.